Hi everyone, this is Penley-Ann Creation. How are you today? I hope you are having a beautiful day. I know. This is a different video for me. Today is Thursday, February the 18th, 2021. I'm gonna load this video up tomorrow, Friday, because I don't know what the upload is gonna be like this evening. It's actually 6:16 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 27 degrees outside. So I'm just gonna crochet and upload it tomorrow. I'm under the weather, everyone. I'm under the weather and I am trying not to craft. And when you lay in bed and you can't sleep, it makes it worse. I'm not going to do well at a lot of talking. So maybe you can just sit in a little quietness with me and do your preferred craft. So I'm working on an Afghan using the Cameron Jumbo Ombre, and sepia is the color. Actually really pretty. So I was hoping to stick my toe under the blanket because it's getting hot. And I don't want you to see my toe because it'll be wiggling back and forth. And one time I did a video and I was crocheting and yapping and my toe was just going back and forth, and I could not post it. It was just, it was funny. So I'm trying. I got a nagging head cold that turned into a upper respiratory infection. I was just watching TV and I learned that Rosie the Riveter passed a couple of days ago. And if you don't know who she is, she was one of the many ladies who worked for the government, and her particular job was extremely important. She had high clearance. She worked on extremely sensitive things. You know, the lady got a fist up. You know, men can do it, we can do it. She was 95, a couple of days short of her 96th birthday. I saw especially one time they were saying, you know, the women of many nationalities, Rosie the Riveter, I think it was on CNN, and they were talking about how pretty and gorgeous they looked, because when they came to work they had their hair done, makeup, nail polish. I said, them ladies back then, they wouldn't go nowhere unless they were looking good. It was really interesting to see all the different nationalities of women. Working for the government during the war. I have to be careful what I'm doing because I just finished a sweater, not finished the first part of a top yesterday, and the corners were 2, and this is a corner of 3. Yeah, New Jersey, we got snow again. I think we have another round coming next week. So far, that looks like it's gonna be mostly rain, and then we are warming. No power outage here in this area, so that's excellent. I don't know why my laptop, it flickers in the back. I don't know what that is. It's weird. I hope I'm able to crochet, because I don't have that much energy, and laying here wasn't a good experience. So I said I would come on and crochet and chat as much as I can. Calvin think I have the blues because of the weather. It could be rain and snow and rain and snow, but it's not like I'm going anywhere, so I don't know why is that making me blue. I like to sit by the window when it snows and crochet or knit, so I've always looked forward to that. I'm stuck in the house anyway before the snow came, so I don't know. I think it's just being in this bed and just sick and tired of being in this bed. That's what I think it is. All right, let's see if I can find a topic to talk about. Michelle, who won the last giveaway, she asked me to talk about Lion Brand outlet. So that's something I can talk about, being that it was a great hit. Now, let's just go back and how I discovered the outlet. A couple years ago, I think it was a little more than 2 years, not quite 3. I was trying to purchase yarn, and for example, it was carrot cakes, and they were coming in at $9 a piece, and to buy 2 you needed $20, and yeah, I just didn't want to have one color. And then me and Calvin would be together, and back then it was 50-60% coupon. So, and to do that, to get more than one, It was a go out the store, come back in, or go to 2 different locations. And in my area, we have tolls. So figure all that out, time and energy. And sometimes you have to know when to bake a cake and when to buy the cake. So it was quite frustrating for me in the beginning that I didn't know how to go about accumulating yarn without going broke. So in my frustrations, besides getting on the website of any company I can think of, I decided to look into where companies was located. And at the time, Red Heart was still in North Carolina. They did not have a store, nor could you come on their site. And I discovered Premier, also in North Carolina. They did not have a store, but they did have a warehouse sale. And I found out about that, and I posted that information. And I learned that Hersner's also have warehouse sale, but I found out about that because they sent me advertisement. At the time it was an email. And then I discovered Lion Brand had a store in New Jersey called Stead, not too far from me. And I could not believe it. And I also learned that Spinrite, so many North Carolina, here we go again. In North Carolina, Spinrite comes down twice a year for their tent sales. And I also learned about other stores. Some of them was no longer in existence, and some of them I had put on my list to visit, like Webb's and Paradise Fiber up in Washington State. Still is my goal to go up there. One of the viewers learned about it. She said she had been living in a town for many years. She's a military lady, and she went. She had no idea that store was there, and she said it's just beautiful. They have really nice pictures up on the store as well. I never seen so many crochet hooks and knit needles in one place. Besides AC Moore, or if you go back in the days with Michael's and the older craft store, you saw a lot of that back then. But they have a lot of that stuff, walls of it. And Barocco, they don't have a store. They operate out of Massachusetts, but of course, you know, you can order offline. And one time I thought I was going to the Hersner store in, I don't know, I think it was Detroit, Michigan, but they had closed that down, so I had missed that. That was all in my research I was doing. Me and Calvin both was doing it at night, 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. So eventually we made our way to Lion Brand Outlet. Yeah, it was just a nice experience, and it still is every time I go. Now, for the first year I went, I would spend a couple of $100, but I wouldn't go back until I had crocheted up all of the yarn. I wouldn't go back. Wouldn't go back. And it would stress me out for me to have all that mandala cakes and stuff in here. And I would just work and work, and before you know it, I would have all that yarn crocheted. And at that time, I mostly did a lot of loom knitting, so I was able to work through that quickly. hmm Really nice store. Um, Always clean, well lit. Advertisement on what yarn is on sale is always written on the side. They have a chalkboard and they use colorful chalk. Good help there. Sometimes you don't know certain yarns arrived at the store, or they may have them mill ends. Some of the latest yarns are samples. Just recently, I got the cover story, 3 of them, and they were $15 a piece. And those were samples, not mill ends, samples. And one of the ladies, she's really helpful to let you know what she has in those big bins, as you probably was aware. You saw the big bins. It is strictly indoor shopping only. No ordering online and no return unless something is damaged. I purchased my adding machine there and I had to take it back because somebody marked the center hook to let them know where they need to stop and begin at. So I took it back and they replaced it. The Jewish Face, not open on Saturdays, but they are open on Sundays. You can go in there. They have computers in there. You can go in there and you can print out any one of the hundreds of thousands of free patterns that Lion Brand have on the web, and they have paper there for you. Free patterns. Sometimes you may run into the CEO or some of the business partners. It's a family-owned business. It's been in existence, I don't know, I think it's 100 years, 100 and something years now. So, you know how we get nervous about that stuff. So they're still going strong, keeping it in the family. Trying to think of something else to say. So it's really nice. It is. Glad that it's a store there, and sometimes that it's not always cheaper to shop there. Sometimes it's cheaper for me to get the things at Joann's, especially the Pound of Love. You very rarely see that at a good price in that store. Now with the for example, you saw 99% of the store was discontinued because they are eliminating, I believe it's those colors. Some of the yarn may have been taken off yarn, but I think it's mainly a lot of colors that was taken off yarn, or lot colors in that lot color. I'm a little distracted because I'm watching the water crisis in Texas and how they bringing in all that water in there. So and they bringing in a lot of new yarn. New colors, and every time, it's the last month they came out with a new yarn. I did post that, and of course I'm waiting for that to hit Joann, so you can use, I can use the coupon. What I was saying is trying to remember to say that it's not always cheaper there, especially like I said with the pound of love, and then it's also a good deal when you get them in bags like that. It is cheaper, so it depends back and forth. I don't go to the store every month. Matter of fact, I haven't been maybe a year and a half. I haven't been to the store. So I was very much surprised that things was being discontinued. I've never seen a whole line of yarn being discontinued like that. I know when I was posting the sales daily on my community page for Lion Brand, I knew they were getting rid of that stuff. I knew it. They were, you know, they started off 3 for $10, then they went to 4 for $10 and 5 for $10. And I kept saying, if you get this stuff, make sure you get enough, because it's not coming back. And this is the first time I've ever experienced the entire line of a company being discontinued like that. I know Premier has been doing that, but it's taken them years to get through that stuff. They down to very, you know, they really down to nothing. Trying to think of something else to talk about Lion Brand before I jump to the tent sale. There's no coupons at the store. You spend $75 or more, they will give you a free Lion Brand bag, and that retail at $10. So this was the first time. It's been every year since I've been going that I go to Lion Brand outlet for my birthday. Now this is the year I purchased the least, and the reason for that is because I have so much yarn, and I was just trying to think of some colors that I didn't have. So a couple of people was like, if I was with you, I would have had all that yarn in your cart. I was like, yeah, I wonder who would have been paying for all that yarn in my cart. But I kind of know what you mean by that. You would have been purchasing a little more than I have. But going back to what I was saying, I primarily went to see, did they have the new yarn out? And sometimes they do have the new yarn out, and they have it on the wall. But they had very little of that. So I was going to get the new yarn, and I was willing to pay full price only because it was my birthday. So, and I got, what was it, night something, I can't remember, but it's actually pretty. So on my dining room table, I need to go over that. So it's to my surprise that the whole store was being discontinued. And one other point I wanted to make is Lion Brand Outlet, don't get the latest yarn first. You would think because the company is next door. They don't. They have to wait till all of the big box stores, whether it's in the United States or abroad, get the yarn first. Then it comes to the outlet store. That's how it works. That's how it works. So it's always a nice experience to go there, you know. My first name basic with the helpers, the two ladies. You can call them if you need help with a pattern, that they can guide you through stuff the best of your ability. Very friendly. I know one time I was doing a video and I had showed the Lion Brand Outlet, and she's one of our subscribers on the channel, and she, at the time, she lived in New York, and she just put the address in, and she just came over. And she also remember Smiley. That was another place I found out about, and I posted that. This is over 2 years ago, and I was supposed to go to Smiley's, and I would say a tent sale, but they usually have it in a hotel. And if you know anything about New York, you know the parking over there is horrendous. And the last time I've been over there was probably 5 years ago, and parking was over $55 to park a car. And it's fine. That's not a problem for me if it's planned. However, I don't know what to expect with Smiley's tent sale. Didn't want to go over there and didn't buy any yarn because I didn't like anything, and I had to pay tolls to get to New York and then that parking. So I decided to say, I'll do it another time. And parking on the street, you have to win a lottery to park on the street. So she remembers her mom's taking her to that store. And it was a big store, big family store. So she picked up Lion Brand, and she came over, and one day she emailed me, and she goes, "Penny, they have cones at Lion Brand Outlet." And I said, "Yeah, no, I'm not interested in that. I have enough of those cones." She goes, "No, they're cotton cones." So I said, "Lion Brand don't have cotton cones?" I was like, "They don't have no cotton cones. What are you talking about? Send me a picture." And she sent me a picture of all these cones of cotton yarn. Mostly they're for knitting machine, but you can still crochet or knit with them. Because I'm making a top out of one. I'm waiting for a family member to come and try it on before I proceed. And then I made some dish towels out of the other ones. And I couldn't sleep that night because I wanted to get to Lion Brand Outlet to these cones. And I went the next morning thinking I was going there. I was going to be the first one in the door. Who I run into here? She was already first. She was already there again, buying more cones. So I brought as much as I could because I was leaving the next day to go to North Carolina to go to the tent sale. So I went back a couple of times after I gotten back from North Carolina and brought more cones because they were $3.50, $5 now. They $40 and $50 because that's how much they worth. They had so much of them when they brought. Oh my goodness! I was not prepared to be doing all this talking. The company that Lion Brand just purchased. Can't think of the name of it. You start with an S. But they sell a lot of the fine yarns, mostly for the knitting machines and knitting. They brought that yarn company out of Paterson, New Jersey. And if you ever get a chance and Google your area, especially North Carolina, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, they still have a lot of factories that produce yarn. Some of them you can get into and some of them you can't because they're just for, manufacturing. And going off again, and that's when I found, what's the name of that company? Oh, I can't even think of it now. If it comes to mind, I'll bring it up. But I talked about that one recently because they were on little cones, cotton cones. And it's not pleasing to the eye, but the yarn is excellent. And you can get cotton on $5. And if you compare it to Sugars and Cream and Lily Sugar and Cream and Premier Cotton, you will see that it's just as good, but it's not as attractive. So, it's a turn off. But I purchased from them too. So you'll be surprised what you find. You just have to do research. And that's what I do. I have a couple of companies I found that I haven't said anything because I just want to make sure that when you shop there, you won't have no issues. I don't want you to tell me, oh, they have horrible customer service and they take too long to ship stuff. So I try to stay away from letting you know about too many things because I don't want your experience to be bad. Not that it'll be my responsibility, but I still wouldn't want you to want you to have a bad experience. So back to the cones. So me and Cowan I purchased the combs and we left, and then the next day we went to the tent sale, Spinrite tent sale. I have been there twice. Last year was supposed to be the third year, but unfortunately that bug hit us. That's still here. And Spinrite Canada, they canceled. Well, they didn't cancel. They not only canceled, but they closed their borders to us. That was a really nice experience as well. I love that stuff. The first time, of course, the first time I went, I didn't know what to expect, but I do have a lot of common sense. We did a dry run to find out where the tent sale was, and it's on the Spinrite property in North Carolina. Someone said that they were selling a yarn. They had moved the company. I'm like, no, they didn't move that company. That company is still in North Carolina. And I think it would have been a little bit too expensive for them to move that company, being that we were going into this financial problems that the virus had started. And I was like, nope. And you see the big trucks rolling in there and out of there. And they put a big tent on the property, and the workers are from the Canada office store, the Spinrite. Nice people. And when I went back the second time, it was the same people. So, like I said, I didn't know what to expect, but I knew to do a dry run. And of course, I couldn't sleep, so excited. And I had cash and I had credit card because I wasn't taking no chance. If they lose electricity, I would be able to cash out because I brought cash. Matter of fact, I gave them $100 in singles, and they were grateful for that because they were running low on change. So the second time I went back, I also brought them $100 in singles as well. So I didn't know what to expect, but we did a dry run. So when we woke up the next morning, we knew where we were going. Well, I'm so glad we did a dry run because we did go around in circles because we missed a turn. They have somewhere out there you can go to the bathroom and wash your hands. And the boxes of yarn. You have to be quick. The first time I messed up because I ran around to see what they had, and then when I came back, a lot of stuff was gone, especially with the cakes. A lot of the pretty colors was gone. So I knew not to do that the second time. I just ran completely around and looked really and came back. And in that short period of time, those people had snatched up a lot of that good stuff. And what I like about the tent sale, yeah, you buy 3, you get 1 free. I should know this. So if you buy 3, you get 1 free. So if you look at it, you'll say, buying 3 of these is expensive. But when you get the 4th one free, and then you add 3 up and you divide it by the 4th one, you see how your money come down. And then you divide it by how many cakes or skeins you have in the 4 packs. And that's when you realize it's an excellent deal. It's a really good deal. For instance, Joann's was selling through New Yarn Enormous event. They were selling Karen Simply Soft 3 for $9. And what was so good about that, you can stack a coupon on top of that. if when you go to the tent sale and you do the conversion of buy 3 and get the 4th one free, 4th pack, it's 3 in a pack. And I don't have my book here, so I can't tell you how much it was. I'll put a link in the comment section, and I'll also put a link in the description section so you can watch those videos. And I do talk about pricing. It's a little nice community. The town, it's a seafood town. They're known for seafood. I think they call it Little North Carolina, and they're known for seafood, and we love seafood, fresh seafood, and antiquated. Hotel is a 3-star, what looks like a 1-star hotel, you know. It's a yuck. That's the only bad thing about it, is they don't have decent hotels down there, no matter how hard you try, unless you want to go an hour away and then drive an hour into town. No, so you just deal with that. That was the only downside about that. Yeah, so if I would have went last year, I told Calvin that would have been the last year I would have probably planned on coming down because of the amount of yarn I have. Someone said to me that it was actually a couple of people, basically about 2 people, told me they had more yarn than I have. I said to myself, I hope you don't. I really hope you don't. And if you do, I hope you're able to store it correctly and know what you have, because honestly, I done lost count, knowledge. What is that noise? Oh, they're coming through and moving the snow aside again. I was like, man, I hope you don't. This is beyond out of control. But I have a good idea what I have. I sure do. I know I'm missing some of my LB collection and some willow yarn. I can't seem to remember where I had placed it. And those are smaller yarns, so and when we came back the first time from North Carolina, they had the Hearstness truck sale, and oh my goodness, I wanted to go. So here from Wisconsin, it was 16 hours drive, and of course Calvin goes, no, so and I saw the videos. Oh my goodness. How dirt cheap that stuff was. A quarter. They had stuff marked down to a quarter. They were giving that stuff away. And then Calvin goes, oh, we could have made it. It's like, ugh. So then, I said, well, I'll go next year. And of course, the virus stopped those plans. There's a lot of good videos on YouTube. People went to the Hearstness truck sale. Yeah. They just recently had one. I forgot. I'm serious. I forgot all about it. I think that was the last one I shopped out before they got on my nerve. I didn't even realize that yarn was supposed to be, that yarn was sold in bags. Anyway, I'm over that. So I missed that opportunity. So I didn't make it to that one. And then I was supposed to do, I had a sign up here saying the battery was low. I'm hoping that I didn't miss too much of it. Still recording. I'm trying to make sure. I had to adjust the battery. Boy, I tell you the truth. Where's my end? So I was talking about webs. And the next one, so I was supposed to visit with Webs, and they are up in Massachusetts. So, that place is tricky. We were thinking about doing a train, but the train only goes up there once a day. And it's expensive, that train ride. And to be up there without a car, it's not something we probably can rent a car, but thinking about the train cost, it was like, man, that's ridiculous. Ridiculous. It's a lot of things to do there. It's a lot. They have a site. They have on their site different restaurants and stuff. Different things for you to do if you come and visit. That trip was delayed because of the awkwardness of the trip. Like I said, I couldn't figure it out. We normally get in a car and we just go. But just something about that. It was just, I'm not sure. I don't know if it's an 8-hour, 12-hour drive. That's good. That's not too bad. We've done 16 hours straight from here to St. Louis to go eat at Sweetie Pie's. Straight through. It was a beautiful run. So I put that off. But I can't remember the reason why. Anyway, but it is still a goal of mine. Hopefully I can get there before the summer's over. In the back of the store, in the warehouse, they have a huge warehouse with all of this yarn. That's what I want to see. They have rolls of yarn. You can go on the website and you can view the pictures. They have excellent sales. I bought a lot of yarn from Webs. Yeah, I can shop online and and get deals and save my money travel. But it's something nice to do. Something really nice to do. They recently had to scale back the number of people in the store. I think that was not even 2 months ago. So they said if you're traveling with a loved one, or you coming to the store, with your family, be prepared to only have one in the store at a time, and be prepared to sit in your car because they was only allowing a certain amount to shop in the store at a time. And I couldn't believe that, because we have been making progress in this country, and I didn't know they had a slip back. So someone had contacted me and told me that they don't live too far and they would go on the webs, and I told her just be careful what time you go, especially watch out for the weather, because you don't want to be standing outside waiting for them to let you in based on capacity, to make sure everyone is safe. I know Dawn had went, her and her husband went, and she had brought some yarn, and she had a nice experience. I got this cold in my throat. And I'm swallowing 1,000 times a second. And it's just stuck there. This is my third skein of yarn. This blanket is for a customer. I don't know what customer, but I know it's for one. It's for a customer. I know it's going to be sold. I love this thing. It's gorgeous. It really is. Okay, before I start talking about something else, I just want to think of anything I wanted to mention about webs. It's something when you have a cold, you just can't remember stuff, simple stuff. I used to watch this young lady, and she has a wall full of yarn. Hanks, no acrylic. And her husband was on a business trip, and she stopped in webs, and she said she didn't buy anything. She didn't buy nothing. I think she was at that time reducing the amount of yarn she was purchasing. She was trying to reduce and work down on the amount of yarn. I cannot remember her name. I apologize. I haven't watched her in a long time. When I first watched her, she was doing a lot of socks, and then she brought a sock machine. She took a lot of hit for that. I don't know why. You make socks how you want to make socks. The sock machine, it doesn't do the entire sock. You still have to do some parts. I think you have to sew in the heel and stuff. I wish I had one, but good luck with finding one. A German made, and they don't come cheap, and you have to have somebody show you how to work the machine. I cannot think of her name. She got a wall full of yarn, and it's just all Hanks. And she didn't buy nothing when she went to Webs. And one of her friends couldn't believe she didn't buy anything. I don't know what that was about. I'd have just bought a couple of items just to remind me that I went there and I just picked up something. You don't have to buy a lot. My light seems to be off. What's wrong with it? Okay, that's it. Yeah, so that's about, and then the I mentioned the one Paradise Fiber, you know, in Washington. I want to go see. That's way up there. I was planning on visiting my aunt. That would have been a good reason. And then we were going to come down to California side and hang out in California. Maybe go to San Diego Zoo. That was the plan then, because Calvin and I excuse me, had a goal to hit all the states in the United States. And most of the west part we haven't been to. So on a part of putting those states on our bucket list, I was researching yarn stores I can visit. That's another, this all came into place anyway. It was like, ooh, that's located in that state and we never been there. It's like, okay, cool. And of course, going to Mall of America. Yeah. We'll see. You just have to recalculate things and hope for the best that we can get back to normal. And I heard normalcy is not coming until next Christmas. Not this Christmas. Next Christmas, which is 2022. And that, I don't even know what to say about that one. Wasn't expecting to hear that the other day. But at least I can, you know, I can still go to Joann's and Michael's and Hobby Lobby and the supermarket and Lion Brand outlet and be safe. I like to go very early to beat the crowds and get in and get out. And sometimes I'm rushing like that. I forget stuff. I don't get the right amount of things. Picking up expired stuff. Last time I was in Costco's, I picked up expired cheese. So just like all of you guys, I'm trying to hold on and stay positive. Actually, I shouldn't be doing this crocheting because it's not good. I'm not strong enough to be using this energy up. Although I don't want to sit here. The other day I crocheted or knit. I was knitting for the last several days, and that made me feel a whole lot better. So let me tell you why I have this cold. Unfortunately, I am getting older. My mind say I'm in my 20s and my body is like, no, you're 90. It's like I ache everywhere. And some of you know that I'm on medication. And I just don't want to talk about now, but and it makes me ache. And also it makes me very hot. And Calvin is older than I am, so he needs a little bit more heat. And we usually run the house at 73. And sometimes he had it to 77. And it was just unbearable for me. Nobody needs that type of heat. Sometimes he forgot to turn it down because we were in single digits, not too much, but you want to just warm up the house, keep the house warm. I was told you do more damage to your house trying to save money. You know, just go ahead and spend the money and keep it warm, and then go about your business. I'm not worrying about pipes freezing because I have changed all of my pipes. I have flex pipes, means they are plastic pipes, and you know, they've been like this. So if they freeze, then they don't burst, they just thaw out. But I do have one pipe, and it's not a pipe, it's a flex pipe, and it's outside of the wall in the basement, and the commode freezes. So I usually put a candle next to the wall when we get in the single digits, and that'll keep that flex pipe from freezing. So how I got sick, or why I might continue to be sick, because I don't like the temperature in the house with the heat. And I sit by the window, the cold, drafty window, and sometimes I put my hand on it just to lower the temperature in my body. And I sit there. And that cool air, of course, it gets into my body, and then it gets into my hips and my back, and then I have another issue. So that's what's going on with me. And today was 29, so we ran it to 73 today. It was good until I actually did get cold, and Calvin turned it up to 75. So probably before we go to sleep, I probably lower it back down to 73. That's too much heat. It's too much heat, especially for me. So that's how I got sick. That's why I'm sick. And I need to stay away from that window because I'm building up arthritis in my body more. I already have it, but I don't need to add to it. That's exactly what's wrong with me. Sitting by that window. And then, especially with the snowstorms, I like to sit there and crochet and watch the snow go down or knit. Yep. So that's how I got sick. Matter of fact, I was sitting over there today for a little while. Probably about 15 minutes. Yesterday, I think I sat there a good hour till I made myself get up. And when I got up, I was aching. My body felt good because the coolness was coming from outside. So next week we should be up in the 40s, so we can back this thing down to 70, and that's definitely a lot more functionable in the house. Gas heat. We had the furnace serviced. I don't know what that guy did, but running the house at 73 is like running it at 77 or 78. Even Calvin noticed the difference. I don't know what he did to that furnace, but it really puts out some good heat, and I don't need that heat. So I was forced in this, what do you call this, menopause, through my medication. So I don't know what I have, because whatever I have is not natural. The medicine did this to me. So I have a couple more months to go, and we'll see what Mother Nature has in store for me, because I don't know. So that's why I have a cold. And my doctor, he gave me ampicillin, which is the worst antibiotics on the market. I don't even know why they still give that to us. But one time the doctor gave me that, and I had it wasn't a flu, because I had the flu shot, so it was a low grade of the flu, and she gave me that. It's like, this stuff is no good. And of course, I had to get another dose of antibiotic. And then when I called him and told him, I was like, why did she give me that low grade medication? And then I asked him, I said, that's because antibiotics is really bad for you. He goes, yeah, that's why. So of course this time he sent me that. I was hoping for the 7-day medication, where you take so many pills each day. You count off, like the first day you'll do 4, the third day you'll do 3, the first day you'll do 4, the second day you'll do 3, and it goes like that. I don't think it's 7 days, it's like 3 days, something like that. And that stuff, it just knocked the virus out of me. So he gave me a low grade medication. So when I saw it, I was like, oh, okay. And the reason why, because if you do get sick and they have to give you antibiotics, the antibiotics you was already on won't lower your immune system, so they'll be able to treat you. So if they start out high and then you get something and they want to go higher, it's like a bump in the road. They have to really give you some high stuff, and that's really dangerous. So mix that in with steroids and all that other stuff. So I have to stay my butt away from that window. I'm almost finished. When Joann had this on sale, $6.99. I did a curbside pickup. They only had 3, and I think I need 10. So all in all, what I use is 2.5, 3, 5. I don't think I'm gonna be able to finish this with 5. And the last time I was in Joann's, they didn't have any on the shelf. I got another pretty 2 colors for Christmas. Oh, excuse me, not Christmas. What am I talking about? For my birthday. It's on the dining room table. Some new ombre they came out with. I picked up. Yeah, I think I picked up that in the store. Michaels have a lot of new yarn out. The Karen, not Michaels, but Karen cakes. I went to order some because I had $47 and some change reward money. I don't know who buying up all that yarn, but I was only able to get 1 color. Everything else was sold out. But they're back in stock now. And it's buy one, get the second one 50% off, and also 30% towards rewards. So if you shop at Michael's, consider getting in the rewards program, because I have received over $200 something in rewards. That's because I did some shopping for my craft room, and I brought some organizational furniture. So that's why I almost had a $50 check this time. Matter of fact, I had a $45 check before. So what I've been doing is, when they give me my check, I just buy what I need. Now, I wasn't buying what I want. And sometimes I did pick up yarn, but it was on clearance. So I was mostly concentrating on organizing my craft room. And that's what I used. That's what I spent my money on. And with shopping for furniture and organizational carts and paper binder holders, I spent a lot of money on that, and then I got a lot of money back on my rewards. So this last one I had $47, and actually I didn't have anything I wanted to purchase. So I was like, oh, Karen, they have new cakes out. First I tried to find this yarn, but they didn't have that. And then I was like, oh yeah, I remember. And I went online, and everything was just sold out. Gone. I was like, wow, who's buying up all this new yarn and paying regular price? Unless you use the 20% off. And my rewards is expiring on the 6th of March. So I went ahead and got some more organizational stuff for the craft room. And then I picked up yarn that was on clearance, and I got 2 of the new cakes that wasn't on clearance. And I got 20% off that. So that worked out. Yeah, so they have new ombre yarn. It's not, one is called hot sauce. I am crocheting so slow. I have some projects I finished. I'll show. And I have 2 projects that I ran into a problem because I don't have any more of the yarn. I never had that happen to me. So I put ruffles at the end of a scarf, so I think I'm gonna have to pull that back and do a simple finishing. It was just a scarf, so see how pretty it's going now. Yep. You know what I want to talk to people about? I don't know. I would say it's like the old school crocheters. I'm not necessarily saying somebody in their 30s or their 40s wouldn't know what I'm talking about, and this is what I'm talking about. The granny square. This right here. I don't even know. Let me see. This is it right here. I don't know if you can see it. But when I have this blue stitch marker, this is telling me that this is the start and the end of the row. And the reason why I have to keep that there is because when you look at my blanket, you can't tell where the rows end or begin at, unless you count all of these corners and you have 4 corners. Other than that, you cannot tell where I start and end. So to put that up close right here, this would be the end of this row. If I want to say, okay, this is it, the blanket is finished, or if I'm going around again, I know right here, this is the start of a new row. And what you probably don't realize, you looking at, you don't see any chain up of a 2. You don't see that. And you will recognize that because it will stick out like a sore thumb. It'll stick out and you can see it all. This is, you can see this is the back part. You will be able to see that all the way down. That chain up 3. You don't see it because I wasn't taught that. Now, I'm in my 50s, and I was taught in the 70s how to crochet, and my aunt taught us, and her son was in one of the 3, and we picked it up like that. When I say like that, it was 10 minutes. We had it. We had to stitch. And she sat there and she just was smiling. She didn't say anything. And it was just so simple. We picked it up. And I'm going to tell you something. I had perfect gauge. Why? Because my cousin was complaining that I was crocheting too tight where he was crocheting very loose. And I said to myself, I don't want that. That looks sloppy. And my aunt, she didn't complain at all. She just sat there and smiled. And I always wondered why she was just sitting there smiling. I can speculate on why she was smiling. She probably couldn't she didn't realize how fast, you know, me and my sister had picked it up, crocheting, and the neatness of our stitches. You know, so I was able to crochet, you know, to do this granny stitch. However, I knew nothing else. And my sister went on to make fancy dollies and with ruffles, and she went on to knit. I don't even know how to. She knitted. She did all that. Of course, she didn't teach me anything, and I really didn't ask her. So when I picked it up again, I was in high school, and I was like, oh yeah, I know how to crochet. And I remember how the stitches went, you know. And when I went home and I was crocheting and crocheting, and the blanket, it kept curling up. It was curling up like a bowl. And I just was trying to flatten it out. And when we got back to art school class, and it, you know, took the project out, and she was like, Penny, what is going on here? And she started laughing. She goes, oh no, you have to do the corners. See, that's how little bit I knew. You know, I knew how to do the stitches, but I knew nothing else. And she showed me how to do the corners, where it was 3, chain 2, 3. And she also started the blanket off for me. She began the foundation. That was another thing I never knew how to do. And once she got me situated with that, you know, I understood the basic, but I could never start it off. I could never. I would always ask my sister to start me off. If I started it off, I would have a kind of a bowl because of the count would be off. And one day, maybe about 10 years ago, I was messing around with it, and I had gotten how to start the granny square, and I wrote it down, but I have no idea where I put it. And recently, the last 2 years, 3 years, I was watching YouTube, and it was like, oh, get ready to do the grannies, make a blanket, because that's the only thing I knew to do. I didn't know nothing about a scarf or a garment, a hat. I just knew how to do a blanket. That's the only thing I wanted to do. And it was like, okay, chain 4, chain 3, slip knot. Like, okay, I remember this. And then it started getting a little weird. And I know it's all different ways to make a circle. But when they started saying chain, slip, stitch to close off the circle, close off that row, and slip stitch and chain up 3, that's when they were going to the second row. And I said, chain up 3? But you got a chain that's out there looking weird. So I was like, okay, well, something different. We come back around. That'll be the end of it. Went all the way around, got to the 3rd row, slip stitch into that chain, chain up 3, and you start the 4th round. And I'm like, this is not right. This is not how I was taught. Well, I wasn't really taught, but this is not something I saw when my sister would start the foundation off for me. And I said to Calvin, I gotta get to the library. I need to get me a book from maybe the 50s. Can't get any crochet book I have now is written. in that manner. And I know what my aunt taught me, and I know what my sister taught me. And I know what the young lady in my art class taught me. And that had nothing to do with no chain up 3. And it was a continuously double crochet all the way around. When you get to the corners, you just continue. This may sound weird to many of you, but that's how it is. When I get here, if you turn it around, when I get here, it's no slip stitch here. My little tool case here. This is my tool case. Let me show you. Let me get an instrument. When I get here, most of you that's following this new pattern, you do a slip stitch here, and then you a chain up 2 or 3. And then you'll start, and then you'll put 2 double crochet in here and a chain 2 to take the place of 1 double crochet, because that's what you do. And if you look at your work, you'll see how that chain 2 go all the way down, and it don't look nice. Not nice. It doesn't look professional. And if I have to do that, I'll do a floating double crochet. I won't slip stitch it. I'll just go right into it and make the double crochet floats. And they teach us that. Matter of fact, my instructor at Crafty, he teaches that, and it's more professional opposed to doing that chain up 3 because it looks wonky. But he also was taught this new way with that chain up 3, so you have a break in your work. See, with me, it's continuous. Every little hole, I just do 3 double crochets. Every hole. There's no chain up, nothing. So you have to put a stitch marker so you make sure your blanket is not uneven. Now, when I started this blanket, I said, come on, Penny, now you've been crocheting for last, 3 years consistently, non-stop, but of course I've been crocheting for many years, and it's just mostly blankets. And I had access to my sister, or I got lucky where I was able to get the center. And how the center is created, you'll still do your normal chain, whether it's 4, 6, or 8, and you make your ring. That has nothing to do with it. That ring, if you do a 4, a 6 chain, a 8 chain, a 10 chain, and you got something big and it looks wonky, you can always take that string and pull it, and it'll tighten it up. So if your initial chain hole is too big, you always can pull that and close it. That's not a problem. So you start off with a chain, let's say a chain of 6 or 8, and you close it. And once you get that circle, then in the circle, you put so many double crochets all the way around. No chains nowhere. You just double crochet, double crochet, double crochet. So for instance, if I put 12 double crochets in this hole, what I have to do is I need to divide that by 4 because you have 4 corners, right? So that would be in sets of 3s. You would build your corners. So every 3 double crochet, you will put a corner. 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochet. Then you skip to the next 3 and you do the same thing. You build your corner. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, and you follow that all the way around. And once you get to this part, it's still, when you go into row, this would be the third step. I don't want to say it would be a row because this is the circle. The next one was putting a double crochet inside the circle, and the third step was dividing the double crochet. Now the 4th step is to continue to crochet. So every hole you have in between your corners, you will stick 3 double crochets. And then the next one will be the corner because the project is relatively small. And then the next hole, you'll put 3 double crochet. And it's no chain. And it's just continue and continue and continue. Now, I ordered some yarn last month. Let me see where I'm at. No, it was this month. One order was last month and one order was this month from Lion Brand. And the order that I bought yarn for the LB collection, because they had 40% off, they had a project book in there for granny squares. And I looked at the granny square. I got the yarn yesterday. And sure enough, the pattern is written with the chain of 3. And I was like, this is not right. So my goal, whenever I can, is I have to go to the library and find a book that's copyrighted. If I learned in the 70s, I would have to stay in that era, because I don't know when this was changed. I don't know when it was changed, but it's not correct. And not that it's wrong, but it doesn't look professional, because that chain 3, I would never do a chain 3. Even if it's a double crochet and they tell you to chain 3, even my instructor said, do not chain 3, because it's too wonky. He didn't have to tell me that, because I never chained 3 for a double crochet. I always chained 2. And because it becomes wonky, it sticks out like your elbow. So I have to find a book to find that pattern, how it was done when I was taught to crochet. I know that some of you probably know what I'm talking about because you're from the old school. And this has been bothering me for quite some time. You know, I say it's wrong only in the sense because it doesn't look professional. It's not wrong as far as application is concerned. I'll put this blanket up next to a person who's doing a chain 3, and my blanket would definitely look better in the corners. Definitely it would. But the rest, all 3 of the other corners, you know, our blankets would match evenly. It would just be that one corner that would be off. So when I started this one, I didn't want to do the blanket that I always do with the single crochet chain 1. So I was like, I want to do a granny square. I'm like, you sure you want to do that? because that's going to take longer. You're going to get tired, and that thing is probably going to sit for 2 years. I was like, no, I like this yarn right here, and this is what I want to do. So I said, well, how are you going to start this thing off? Because you're not going to have that floating chain. So I said, look, you've been crocheting consistently for the last 3 years. You should be able to figure this out. You did it one time, you can do it again. So I started. And it is 98% to my liking. It's off. It's hard to see unless I was putting it up in a show. Then somebody would look at that middle and they would see that one little error. And you have to really be a professional to pick out this. And I was like, okay, I got it. And I was able to start the blanket off without a problem. It just had the problem I had a little gap. And I had to close the gap. And although it's not correct how I was taught, it worked out fine. And this is the center right there. You don't see any chain up. That 4 clover looking stuff, that's the center. That's how it should look. So as soon as that was my crochet hook hit the floor. I have another one. As soon as I can find that, or somebody have that pattern and they send it to me, I would definitely teach that, because you would love it. For one reason why you would love it, because as many as you guys crochet, y'all don't need to watch your hand. Y'all can just feel. Because I can watch TV and I can crochet, and I just drag my fingers across to fill a hole. You know, and it's only 3 in there, so, and you can feel it. You know, so, and when you get to your corners, you'll slow down for your corners, but it's never no chain up. Someone gave me a book, and unfortunately I was looking at, with me cleaning up my craft room and reorganizing things, I came across the crate of crochet and knitting books. And I remember I had gotten this book from somebody, sent me this book, and she didn't sign the book. And I remember reading a little bit of the book and how they were taking things that was done early on